What's up, guys? It is Hot Wheels Tournaments, and today we are going to preview the 2025 Matchbox new models lineup. We do this every single year on the channel. As you guys know, I get the opportunity to go to this event every single year. I buy tickets in January and then travel to Albuquerque, New Mexico for the Gathering of Friends every single July. It's a great event. It is a die-cast tradition unlike any other, and Jim Gallegos and the Matchbox team do a great job of putting it on every single year. It all culminates with a dinner Saturday night where they reveal their plans and all the new models for 2025. I got the opportunity to see that presentation, take pictures of all the new models that they revealed in their various states of pre-production, and now I get to share my thoughts on them with you guys here today. Now, as you guys know, Matchbox has two main lines that they focus very heavily on. That is their basics lineup. That is the $1 model, very similar to what Hot Wheels does that you guys are familiar with. And the newer, but becoming a very established, in fact, I would say it's already established as the best lineup they do. And I would say the best lineup in die-cast shelves right now. Some would say it's Hot Wheels Premium. I would say it's Matchbox Moving Parts. They revealed new models for both, but we're going to start with basics here today. We start off the basics with a whammy, the 1997 Acura Integra Type R. JDM has been the name of the game in diecast the last 7 to 8 years, so there are going to be lots of people scrambling to the pegs to find this one. You can see it's in its almost fully completed state, which is awesome to see. We're getting that classic Type R treatment with the white paint. They gave us the red interior so we can have those red Type R seats, which you love to see. I'm very excited for this one. Hot Wheels has given us some good Integras. However, we have not gotten a fully stock one yet, and Matchbox is going to give us that this year. It looks very good. I am very excited to see this, and we'll be hitting the pegs early here in the 2025 waves. And we follow that whammy up with some even bigger news with the Maserati MC12. Maserati license has been missing from Mattel for the last 15 years or so. The last Maserati, ironically, that we got was an MC12 from Hot Wheels when it comes to the Mattel brands, so it's fitting that the car that would follow up would be the iconic MC12. I am shocked that the way this news is getting revealed to us is through the Matchbox gathering and not Hot Wheels themselves. I figured this would be something Hot Wheels would want to reveal, and I'm sure they're going to do Maserati castings, but Matchbox here is going to get the headlines with bringing it back. This MC12 looks absolutely fantastic. Still in the pre-production stage. You can see still 3D printed, so expect it towards the middle or end of the year next year. But this is fantastic news. We're getting a couple Maseratis, as you'll see later in this video, and I am incredibly excited for Matchbox and this opportunity they have because they do some great sports cars. They do some great supercars. They are incredibly underrated, I think, when it comes to kind of the collector vision. And the hits just keep coming. The 2021 Lexus LC 500 was revealed as well. The Matchbox Lexus partnership continues to grow. It has proved to be very lucrative for us as collectors. We got the Lexus LFA as a premium model. We got the Lexus LX, SUV. We're getting a Lexus this. We've gotten so many Lexuses over the past couple years, something that if you said, 6, 7 years ago would have sounded crazy because we had virtually none in the lineup. And, now we're good for 1 or 2 new Lexus models every single year. This LC 500, as you can see, is virtually completely done. It's debuting in a beautiful darker red with a tan interior. I think this car looks fantastic. That colorway, that color combo with the interior and the outer color is absolutely fantastic. And I just can't wait to see this one hit the pegs. I may buy every version if I see it is that freaking good. We then move into the BMW i4 Police. It's about time they did an i4. I've been predicting this model was going to come for years, and it never did. Even when they were in their EV phase 2 to 3 years ago, and 50% of the new models were EVs, they never got to the i4. Here it finally is, and it is going to be debuting with a light bar. My take on this, unfortunately, there was no pre-production, so I can't look at the actual model, so I had to grab a picture, but I think the police cars can get kind of repetitive and boring if they start throwing just a bunch of, generic decos on them. If they can keep these to decos that are either licensed from European, police stations or heavily influenced by European countries and their police cars, I think it can be extremely fun and extremely cool. The BMW M5 that came out in, I believe, 2016, 2017 was a police car. They had Polizei schemes on it, and it has had some fantastic releases as a result. If they can do the same thing with the i4 Police, I think we have a very, very good release on our hands. We then move to the Nissan Ariya pull-to-pull. Now, the Nissan Ariya basic car, like the stock version of this car, came out in moving parts 2 years ago. We are now getting the adventure built car that Nissan uses to do various ad campaigns. It like drives across like different continents and Antarctica and all this like crazy stuff. But this is extremely cool and unique model. I kind of see it as a one-off. I think the first release in the licensed deco that looks exactly like the car that they have and they use for their advertising will be very cool. I think the subsequent releases will be a little bit less exciting to me because I think they're going to be kind of in wild random decos that I personally do not particularly care for, but nonetheless a very interesting release, bringing some much needed variety to the lineup. And this is just one of those classic Matchbox, kind of off the grid picks. They have a few of these every year where they go out and they find a very unique car and they bring it into the lineup and they specialize in that. So I'm not going to complain too much. Like I said, I think this first release is going to be fantastic. We'll see where it goes from there. And keeping with the unique vibe, we have the 2021 Morgan three-wheeler, the Morgan license proving to be coming on strong for these Mattel brands. We have a new model Morgan for Matchbox coming in 2024. We now get one for 2025, and it is the three-wheeler. And I think this is very exciting. Matchbox loves to do a couple of really old, 20s, 30s, 40s classic cars every year. Well, now they get to make a car that's in that vein, but is actually pretty modern. So modern that it was built in this decade, which is very awesome. Again, Matchbox specializes in those unique cars, those unique choices. This is certainly one of them. And the Morgan relationship seems to be strong and is giving us some very, very cool cars to collect. We move from there to the 1970, Citroen 2CV. One thing you're going to notice, and you might have noticed already as this video goes on, is that there's a very heavy Euro influence on Matchbox's lineup this year. That's not, unintentional. That is by design. Matchbox wants to introduce more Euro cars, and not only they're doing a lot of Euro cars, they're doing a wide variety from various countries, from various eras, with various purposes, whether it's supercars or everyday cars like the Citroen 2CV. This is a very popular Italian car. It was in production for nearly 50 years. It's very much in the vein of the Fiat 500 as just a cheap everyday driver that people could use and get places to and from without having to spend a ton of money. So again, unique Matchbox choices that you thought you might never see in diecast are happening, and that's very cool because at the end of the day, those everyday road cars, those unique cars that you might not expect to see because people might consider them lame, that is what the Matchbox brand is built on. That is their bread and butter, and this is another fantastic addition to the lineup. From there, we move into what will be many people's most anticipated new model of the year, the 2023 BMW M2. Matchbox loves to do these M cars. They did a fantastic 1M. It is one of the best Matchbox models ever made, all the way back in 2013. We are now getting a worthy, maybe not a direct successor, but a successor in the way of the BMW M2. Already in metal stage, looks very, very good. We'll see if that debut color, I don't think the interior is going to be blue, so that debut color may or may not be red, but we'll see this in early 2025. I am very excited. Everybody at the gathering seemed very excited about this. This is a fantastic choice. This is a home run choice, and if well executed, it is going to be maybe the best new model of the year for many. From there, we move to the 2017 Toyota Land Cruiser 78. Everybody loves Land Cruisers, and it's about time we got a new one here in the basic lineup, and this one is an absolute behemoth. It is not your, totally classic Land Cruiser, cab SUV vehicle. This one is more of a truck. I actually don't know a ton about this thing, but it looks like an absolute unit. I'm sure people are going to really, really like this, and those off-road and truck fans of Matchbox are going to eat this one up. And while Matchbox is not totally all in on EVs, they are still producing them. They're not at that 50% requirement, but we are certainly still getting our fair share this year. We now get the 2024 Ford Explorer EV. As you can see on the right, it is almost completely done. It is debuting in just a beautiful blue color. That blue is so, so, so pretty. They've got that front end executed very well with those nice 10-spoke wheels on it. This one is one that maybe not the most exciting for most people, but at the end of the day, these road-going cars are why we love Matchbox. It's why we collect Matchbox, and is going to be a worthy car of the 2025 lineup. Remember that Euro influence? Well, here is again the 1967 Alfa Romeo Duetto. This is a classic Alfa, which I think is a worthy change up here from Matchbox. Matchbox the last couple years has given us basically all the new Alfa Romeo castings. We've had the 4C, we got both of its SUVs in moving parts and basics respectfully last year, and now they're saying, you know what, let's go throw it back all the way to the 70s, because you know how this relation started? It started with the Giulia Sprint. I can't remember the exact year on it, but it was an all-time casting from the golden age in the mid-2000s. Well, you know what? Let's return to that well and give another classic Alfa. This is a fantastic addition to the lineup. It brings a lot of diversity to the lineup to give us an Italian sports car from the 60s, from a brand that has really come on very strong and become an integral part of the Matchbox lineup the last couple years. I am very, very excited for this announcement. From there, we go to road going, but we go to the souped up version of road going with the 2024 Toyota RAV4 GR. Toyota is one of those manufacturers that is having a massive year with Matchbox. They have multiple new models that will be coming out in both basics and moving parts. So very good to see that relationship as strong as it is. The RAV4, obviously one of the most popular cars on the road today. I would gander it's probably in the top 5 most bought cars in the United States today. You see them absolutely everywhere. However, we are not just getting the basic RAV4, we're getting the GR version, which is basically Toyota's performance division, which is kind of cool. I'll be interested to see what little changes get added to that in terms of the casting and what's different. I don't know specifically what is different from the GR RAV4 to the basic RAV4. Obviously, there's going to be some badging stuff, but there might be some small modifications that happen on the body, the grille, and the rear that we might see as well. I think this is a really exciting pick. I love the RAV4. My girlfriend just got a really nice RAV4. It's an Adventure, not a GR. So if they did the Adventure, I'd be all over this. But still, a really cool casting, a really appropriate casting, and one that I think people may be a little more excited for than you may necessarily expect. They're finally here. The Cadillacs are rolling in. Cadillac went through a massive redesign in terms of a lot of their cars when they committed themselves to doing EVs. We saw the Celestiq, and we also saw the 2023 Cadillac Lyriq, which is making its way to the Matchbox lineup. It's about time we got some more modern Cadillacs in the lineup. There's another one coming up later that you will see. In the past, it's felt like we got that CTS-V Blackwing a couple years ago, and that's kind of been it. All the Cadillacs we get are 60s and 70s classics, which that's appropriate. Those belong in the Matchbox lineup. They were classics for a reason, but we want to see some of the newer stuff. This Cadillac Lyriq looks very, very nice so far. Already in metal. Expect this in the earlier to mid part of the year, but I can't wait to see what they do with this one. This is a great pick and one that I personally have been waiting on. From there, we kind of move into our first meh pick. You may or may not have liked what we've seen before. I think everyone would generally agree that the choices so far in the lineup have been good. This GMC utility truck feels very meh. I get it. Matchbox does a lot of construction stuff too. They do a lot of off-road stuff too. That is another important part of their brand they don't want to get rid of. But just GMC generic utility truck doesn't really do it for me. This is blah, one that I will be passing on the pegs. From there, we're going to move to a very nice little palette cleanser. This is the 2024 BMW 7 Series. There's probably not a car manufacturer having a bigger year in 2025 with Matchbox than BMW. They have, it feels like 5, 6, 7 new tools coming out this year for the brand, which is massive. Some of them will be covered in covered in this video. I think there's one or two that either weren't a part of the slides or didn't have pre-pros that might not be in this video, or were going to be new models in premium. So there's one or two that may or may not get covered in this video that I might miss, but you're going to see there's a lot, and part of that is that Euro influence we were talking about. Anyways, back to this car itself. Extremely exciting to see this 7 Series. It feels like when we come to sedans with these Mattel brands, those bigger fleet sedans don't typically get included. So with BMW, we've kind of always maxed out at the 3 Series or the M4, the M5. We never really delved into their 7 Series or 8 Series. With Mercedes-Benz, we've classically stuck with either their wagons or their smaller sports cars. These bigger sedans don't get represented very well, and part of that is they're probably just not as popular as they were 20 years ago with the way the world has pushed towards SUVs and crossovers. So you just don't see them as much, and there's not as much incentive to make them in a die-cast lineup because people want to buy what's popular or what they drive or what's on the roads. But this is incredibly awesome. It's something that I never would have guessed was coming. But after seeing it and after realizing, like, hey, that is an option, I have to say it's an awesome choice, and it's one of my favorite choices for the lineup this year. From there, let's go back to the United States. We are getting the 2023 Dodge Charger Pursuit. Yes, we are getting one final combustion engine Dodge police car in the lineup, thankfully, before they go over to EV. This is one of those staples of the Matchbox lineup. For the last 15, 20, 25 years, you can always count on basically 2 police cars in the lineup. You can always count on a Dodge Charger police car. You can always count on a Ford Explorer police car. They update us with a new model every 6 to 7 years or so. The Dodge Charger was about time for a refresh, especially before it goes to being an EV, and this just a good choice, one that has been a staple of the lineup for so many years, and good to see another new model being introduced to that. And from there, we go into the classics. The classic cars are fewer than we've seen in years past. Matchbox always gives us a good representation of classic stock 60s and 70s cars. And this year, we didn't get quite as many. That's not a problem with me. If you've seen my previous recaps or previews of new lineups for Matchbox, I always say it's not my cup of tea. It's not what I collect. I don't really know how to judge this or feel about this. That's how I still feel about the Chevy Chevelle wagon. I love that it's a wagon. Wagons are objectively cooler than, I think other types of cars, but not my cup of tea. There is a market out there for it. I know the older Matchbox collectors will go nuts for this, but, pretty indifferent casting overall for me. The other big winner from the Euro push for 2025, in my opinion, was Mercedes-Benz. Just as BMW is getting a handful of new models, so is Mercedes this year. We are getting the E63 AMG wagon. Love it. Love wagons. We got the fantastic BMW 3 Series Touring wagon a few years ago. We now get its German counterpart this year with the E63 AMG. Probably going to be later in the year, as you can see, as it's still in its 3D printed stage, but it looks really, really good so far. I can't wait to see this one. This is going to be a must-have for me. From there, we're going back to the States again, and we're getting the third of the trio of US EV pickups. We got the Ford Lightning 2 years ago. We are getting the Chevy EV truck, the Chevy Silverado EV this year, and the Ram REV will be the third to join here next year. I'm not personally a big truck guy, especially modern pickups. Old trucks I think have a little bit more diversity and, interesting factors to them. I think all modern pickups kind of look the same to me. So I'm kind of, lukewarm on modern pickups, but the Ram REV is a solid car to introduce to the lineup. Matchbox always is good at giving us a couple of classic pickups a couple of modern pickups every single year throughout the lineup, just to keep that diversity up. So a solid entry into the new models this year. One for me, though, that I'm not personally super excited about. Speaking of classic pickups, we have the 2024 Toyota Tacoma. Again, I'm going to kind of echo my previous thoughts. Modern pickups, I'm pretty indifferent on. They're whatever, it's not particularly what I'm into. But it is good to see us getting a new Tacoma casting. This one looks really good, and despite what this picture may indicate with it not being painted or whatever, this is probably going to be one of the first new models we see here in 2025. Abe Lugo, the head designer for Matchbox, had a packaged version. It's going to be in white with black wheels, I believe, that he was showing after the presentation at the gathering. The reason he was doing that is Matchbox is getting a fresh rebrand. They are redoing all the card art and the logo for this year. Personally, the card art this year looks fantastic. I was kind of whatever on the current Matchbox card art, but the new card art for this year, it takes the things I didn't like about the current card art, gets rid of them, simplifies it, puts more focus on the car, and I'm really excited about it. Anyways, back to the Tacoma. Solid choice. It looks good in white. I will definitely pick up the first edition so I can have it in the collection. However, it's going to be heavily dependent on what it looks like after that, if it's going to end up in my collection multiple times. How about this beauty, the Scania XT fire truck? We got a fantastic Scania fire truck, I want to say about 5 years ago, and we are getting another one this year. This one looks like an absolute unit. If they do 6 wheels instead, if they do the 3 axles, they do the 3 sets of axles instead of 2, this is going to be a home run. I don't care if it means we get no interior. Matchbox does a great job with fire trucks. They've always had a heavy first responders, presence, whether it's all the police cars they do, whether it's the ambulances they do, or the fire trucks they do. This one looks like a certified home run if they can execute it in my book. It's an awesome looking fire truck. It's a licensed fire truck, which is most important. And if they can get us all 6 wheels, I am going to be all for it. And the BMWs keep on rolling. We're getting the 1995 BMW 318i. This is not an era of car I'm particularly super familiar with. I know stuff about 70s, 80s, 90s car. This is not a car, however, I have been introduced to that much. However, my friends who are very, very knowledgeable on this stuff are extremely, extremely excited about it, which means I'm excited about it because it's a Euro car, it's a BMW. Very early in the production stage, you can see here, still, they haven't even done multiple parts. It doesn't even have actual wheels. The wheels are 3D printed onto it. So this is going to be at the very end of the year next year, but another great choice from Matchbox, another BMW. The year of BMW continues, and I can't wait to see what they do with this. So from all the licensed castings we looked at, and there's 1 or 2 that were in the display that I missed because they weren't revealed in the sizzle or presented during the presentation. So I didn't know exactly what type of car they were, and I didn't want to put in the presentation and be wrong, and have people mad in the comments. So I just figured I'd exclude them. There's 1 or 2 that will be in the main line that weren't in this video. We moved to the generics. The first one's the Coast to Coast Yacht. It's a generic boat. It's going to warm the pegs. It sounds harsh. It sounds cruel. But when you make generics, and especially generics that aren't cars, they warm the pegs. That's what they do. This one's going to be a tough one. It's going to clog your pegs for a while. But, being negative, whatever. Let's keep on rolling. Generics aren't what we're here to see. Oh, but surprisingly, I messed up the presentation a little bit. Oops. We also have a Mercedes-Benz EQB coming to the lineup. We're not on all generics yet. Don't worry yet. We'll get to the rest of the generics here in a second. Mercedes-Benz also having a great year in terms of new models, as we mentioned. The EQB, another EV, going to be a welcome car in the lineup. It fills in those everyday road cars, those everyday SUVs that we see all the time now here in the United States and the rest of the world. This is a good choice. I'm not going to say it's a great choice. Maybe more interesting Mercedes they can do, but it's still a good choice. It's still going to sell well. It's still going to be interesting, and it's just that Matchbox bread and butter that we talk about every year. Those road-going cars, they love to do them. Anyways, to finish out with the generics, the Matchbox Field Car, which is kind of their staple generic, I would say this is like Matchbox's Bone Shaker, Hot Wheels signature generic, the Bone Shaker. Matchbox has the Field Car. It's a car that's been around basically since the brand was invented in the 1950s as, by Lesney in England. They gave us a modern version. We are now getting a more off-road convertible version, which is cool. I think that's a worthy generic to do. Paying homage to your roots and where you started is always a good thing. So I don't hate this one that much. It also comes in a beautiful Matchbox deco, as you can see. But we'll see that one early in 2025. A good generic, in my opinion. Rare that I say that. We then get the mini sight dumper. Construction vehicle, I don't really care that much for it. However, it does have a moving part and it's not part of the moving parts series, you'll pay $1 for it. That dumper, that plastic dumper on the back moves. Always good to have play value in these generics. I think that's an important thing that they can include to make them more appealing. We have the Matchbox EV ladder truck. This is going to be a fire truck as well. Again, moving part, that ladder is going to go up and down. Good to see that. Kids love fire trucks. You put a moving part on it. Guess what? That generic's probably going to move a little bit quicker than it would otherwise because it's going to grab the attention of either younger collectors or kids who are buying these to play with these as they're meant to be instead of put them in display cases like I do. Anyways, we have two generics that I do not have photos of. We have the mini bus, the Matchbox EV bus, which I accidentally just skipped through, and the Matchbox turf hauler. That's all I'm going to say on those. They're whatever. We are now finally moving into the moving parts new models. Don't worry, we're only 24 minutes into this video. But when Matchbox is debuting two new lineups at the same time as they've started doing the last 2 years, you're gonna get a lot of content. You're gonna get a lot of stuff to go through. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Anyways, let's move into what I believe is the best line in diecast currently. We start off with the VWID Buzz. This was the only moving part new model they revealed that they did not have any form of pre-production for. However, I believe this one is going to have a sliding side door, which you love to see. They did that with the Mercedes-Benz a few years ago, and we now get it on the ID Buzz. Hot Wheels has already made this. It's okay. I think this one with a sliding rear door, though, is going to be way cooler, have way more value, and be way more exciting as a casting. Solid choice here from the Orange team. From there, we move to the Dodge Charger Daytona. The EV Dodge Charger is here, whether you like it or not. Personally, I think Dodge Chargers should always be internal combustion engines, but such is life. The new Daytona looks really cool in my opinion. I think it has a it maintains the Charger aggressiveness while having a sleeker appearance, which I think is really cool. And we're getting one in moving parts with moving doors. I think that's a very worthy choice. It's also one that me and my friends would predicted be, or my friends and I should say, predicted would be a new model for 2025. So that's another plus on our part. Good on us. We follow a controversial car up with a controversial car. Regardless of what you think about the Tesla Cybertruck, whether you think it looks awesome and it's the coolest thing ever, or it's really ugly and not reliable and, just totally stupid, which I echo that sentiment. I think it's a really stupid truck. I think it's incredibly unreliable. I think it's poorly built. I think it's cool what they did with the silhouette. I respect that they tried something new, but, I appreciate it for that, but I don't think it's a good car. I would never buy one. Anyways, regardless of what you think, we are getting one here in the moving parts line, which I'm excited for because Matchbox is being very ambitious about this model. They're looking at giving it two moving parts, which is awesome. For sure, we are going to get the opening front. That front area is going to open, but what they also want to do is have that rear slide open as it does on the actual Cybertruck. Sounds like there's some engineering problems in terms of making it work on the diecast model that might prevent them from doing that. So we'll see if it has to. That's the plan. Still, cool idea, unique car. It's coming to the moving parts lineup. Like it or not. You don't have to buy it. From there, we move into the Toyota Century. The signature Toyota fleet car right now is going to be getting an opening trunk. Absolutely fantastic. Like I said, Toyota having a real solid year. They're getting some real cool cars made. We've seen the RAV4, we've seen the Land Cruiser. Also, by extension, they're part of Lexus, and Lexus is getting cool stuff made. But the Toyota Century is extremely exciting. It has one of the most unique silhouettes of any car you can buy on the road today. I love the opening rear. I have long stated that my favorite opening parts are the opening rears because I think they work so seamlessly and they can hide cool stuff in the trunk and all that. Opening hoods are also awesome, but good opening part on this one. Already in metal, which is good to see. We'll be seeing this probably early to mid 2025. It might seem like a distant memory because it was so early in this video, but remember, Maserati is back. We are getting a basic with the MC12, and we are also getting a moving part, which is lovely to see, and it's a car from their current lineup, the Maserati Gran Turismo Folgore. I don't know how that's supposed to be said. I'm going to say Folgore. I don't know if that's the actual presentation. Anyways, this one in 3D print form looks super cool. Matchbox has done a great job of representing pretty much every type of modern car you see on the road. If there's one area they've been lacking, and for this matter, Hot Wheels also lacks in this area as well, it's getting those supercar, sports car companies grand touring cars on the shelves. They don't make a lot of those, and part of that is I think because they don't drive a lot of interest. They're not the highest performing, they're not the fastest, they're not the race cars that everybody loves, and they're not like the smaller, more affordable sports cars that you see on the road every day. This is a very niche market, and as a result, it becomes very niche on the die-cast shelves as well, because the die-cast shelves represent what people want and what people see, and this is a very small market. So it's very good to see a grand touring car on the shelves. Matchbox is actually making two this year. We're getting, well, it's kind of a grand touring car. It's kind of also just a big, massive supercar. We're getting the Aston Martin DB12 as well. That will be debuting in premium, though. They did not show off any 3D prints or pre-production models of that car. But anyways, back to Maserati. Lovely to have it back. I think this is a great choice. They are starting off strong. Slowly but surely, I assume they will be building this vehicle base up. I really hope they do an MC20 next year. If anybody from Matchbox is watching, do an MC20. Hot Wheels is probably going to do it in 2025. Don't let them beat it to you. You can do it better. Do an MC20. Anyways, that's my pitch. Maserati, great to see it back. Gran Turismo Fulgor, great choice. Looks really, really good here. Can't wait to see it on the shelves. Cadillac, as we mentioned, is also getting some modern cars made this year, making a little bit of a comeback in that modern department. We talked about the Lyriq earlier. We now get the Escalade IQ. We got the fantastic, I believe it was the 2017 or maybe it was the 2016 Escalade, about 7-8 years back. It was great, but we got like 2 releases of it and it disappeared. I think it's because it was a 5-part model, a little bit more expensive to build. How do you correct for that? You move it to the moving parts line where that price point is higher, so you can commit to building a more expensive model. It's getting an opening rear, which is fantastic to see. It is absolutely massive. If you can't tell by kind of the scale of some of the cars around it, it is a very big casting, which is good because the Escalade is a massive model. I'm very excited for this one. Can't wait to see it on the shelves. We stay in the United States with the 2024 Ford Mustang. This was a no-brainer. I can't believe I feel like such an idiot for not putting it in my predictions video. Matchbox does the updated Mustang whenever they do a new generation, which Ford has just done with the Mustang. Matchbox always immediately does it because that makes sense. That seems like a good time to do it. I, like an idiot, did not think of that and say they would make it. Anyways, you can see it's already fully decaled up. It's already in color. This is going to be seen in early 2025. You can't see in the picture, and I can't remember from the convention if the engine is fully detailed, if that got tampoed up. I hope it did. They typically do that with the new models. If they did, you're getting front, rear, and engine tampos. It looks pretty good. It's got a good hood. It's going to be, I think, a relatively popular casting. Good to see it coming to the lineup. Time for another one of those Matchbox curveballs. The 2007 Ford Excursion is coming to the lineup. That is absolutely awesome to see. Every now and then you get one of those, oh, I kind of forgot that car existed that shows up in your Matchbox new line preview. That's one of them. Nobody talks about the Ford Excursion that much, but it's a big SUV with a massive diesel engine, and because of that diesel engine, it was put in moving parts so it could have an opening hood, and we could see a fully detailed diesel engine in the moving parts line. I think that's so cool. I think that's a really smart decision, and again, a unique casting that belongs to the Matchbox lineup. You love to see it. And now it's another Lexus. As we've mentioned, this partnership between Lexus and Matchbox has been incredibly strong. We are getting the 2024 Lexus GX, another big-bodied Lexus SUV coming to the moving parts lineup. We love to see that. This one, again, you can see is almost done. It's debuting in a beautiful bronze gold. I would say that's bronze, but just a beautiful color here to start off with some 5-spoke off-road rims. You love to see that. Going to have opening doors on this one. Would have liked to see an opening rear, but you know what? It's okay. It still looks really, really good, and can't wait to see this one on the shelves. It's going to be a day one must-have for me. And from there, we get the 2023 Ford Maverick. Ford staying hot. We're getting 3 or 4 new Ford models this year, a lot of them in moving parts. I didn't really realize that at the time of watching the presentation and looking at all the new models, maybe I don't collect a lot of Ford, and it's not something I pay particular attention to. That's probably why. But very good year for Ford, and I think the Maverick is another great, maybe not great, another good, very worthy inclusion in the Matchbox lineup. We'll say it a million times in this video, but Matchbox does what you see on the road, and I see Mavericks everywhere. I would say anytime I drive into town, I'm guaranteed to see, at least 2 or 3 just driving around the roads. Nice little small pickup truck, getting away from kind of the oversized pickup trucks that so commonly dominate the road today. This is a very cool inclusion. Yeah, I'm happy about this one. Fully done. It's debuting in a beautiful blue. The 6 spokes look solid on it. Yeah, this is a good choice. Well done by Matchbox. From there, we get the 1991 Mitsubishi Parejo. Seems like a little bit of a weird choice to me. I don't know how much demand there is for this car, considering Hot Wheels just did it. Basically, it debuted in 2023, so we just got one basically almost the same year from Hot Wheels. The Hot Wheels one, however, is kind of whatever. This one looks a lot more interesting to me. That's probably because it's Matchbox just kind of tends to do off-road, SUV utility vehicles a lot better. And you can see that here. You get a fantastic front grille on this one. You get those, that light bar up top looks absolutely great. Yeah, this is solid. Maybe not my cup of tea. Something I'll certainly pick up though. And it looks like they're doing a very good job of replicating it. It's not even in actual deco and metal yet, and I can already say this for sure that it's better than the Hot Wheels version. So you know what? If you're going to do a model that Hot Wheels did, may as well do it better, and they have certainly done that in this case. Now here is a proper Matchbox staple, the Land Rover Defender 130. Obviously, Matchbox being a British brand when they originated meant that they did a lot of Land Rovers, and they have been consistent within the lineup and have stood the test of time over it. And finally, after getting so many in the basic range, we are getting a Land Rover. I guess we've gotten Range Rover, but we have not gotten a Land Rover in the premium or in the moving parts lineup until now, and they went all out with the 130. You're going to get one moving part and one removable part on this car. You can see pretty clearly the front is going to pop up, and you're going to be able to see that front engine, which is awesome. Really hope that's fully decoed and decaled on the inside so you can see all the attention to detail. But that roof rack is also going to be removable, so you're going to be able to display it in a more stock look, or you can display it in a more adventure rescue look if you decide to include that roof rack. Love to see it though. This is what you love about the Matchbox moving parts price point. That extra $1.50 gets you so much extra in your castings. In the past, if they had done this as a $1 model, obviously no moving hood. But if they put that removable top on, they're probably making the entire windshield blacked out because that removable top is a 5th part and they wouldn't be able to include an interior. But with the extra money, with the extra leeway, with that greater price point, they can give us an interior, they can give us a not blacked out but clear windshield. That's awesome. And then you get the moving parts as well as a removable top. That's absolutely awesome. This is a great, great, great choice. Have there ever been models more suited to be Matchbox cars than the off-road Lamborghinis and Porsches that have started popping up from those manufacturers the last couple years? I would argue no. That's exactly the weirdness and uniqueness Matchbox is looking for in those cars, and the Lamborghini Huracan Storado is finally coming to the lineup. I thought it was going to be a new model last year. We had to wait a year. I'm not mad about that though, because this thing is going to be so much fun. Still very early on. They haven't even worked on the moving part yet. Abe Lugo, head designer, said it's probably going to be an opening rear like it is on the Corvette C8, which is exactly what you should do with these supercars when they have those opening rears that allow you to see the engines and you can fully deco them, and that rear can open up, really wide and just give you a full view. It's awesome. Anyways, this is a great choice. This is awesome. This is a car that was made to be a Matchbox, and I'm really, really excited to see it. Next up, we have the Alpha Motors Wolf, a car and company I admittedly know next to nothing about. This is an EV car. You wouldn't guess that because it looks like a classic 80s, 90s off-road racing truck, which is just dope. What a weird, kind of combination of things to have, EV, but racing truck. Anyways, this thing looks really, really fun. You're going to have opening doors. Lots of extra components on this one with that rear light bar you see, with that front grille. Lots of parts, lots of pieces going on here. I can't wait to see what this one looks like. I'll have to do some more research on it. But yeah, a unique choice from Matchbox. They always go out and find one of those, weird EV brands to do something from. We got the Bollinger B2, last year, and now we are going to get the Alpha Motors Wolf here in 2025. Another Ford. They're dominating moving parts. This one a classic though, the 1963 Ford Thunderbird. Gonna have an opening hood. Very cool. I always say classics not my cup of tea. I at least know the Thunderbird. I at least know of its significance. It's a significant car in the past for Matchbox, as it's one of the first cars they ever made. It's like basically for the U.S. market when they were building in the 50s. They built the Thunderbird, so it would be so the brand would be more popular in the U.S., which I respect. I like, again, the homage, paying to respect where you came from, I think is important for these companies, kind of remembering what made you successful, how you got here. But not my cup of tea. Cool though. I think people will go nuts for it, some of the older collectors. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that. From there, the 2016 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. They made the Rubicon interesting. Thank God. They have a mainline Wrangler. I mean, I don't really think Jeeps are all that interesting. People drive them everywhere. I think they're kind of boring. But yeah, this one's really, really fun. It's got surfboards on the top. I believe those surfboards in that rear, that rear roll cage might be removable. I know the surfboards will be. I don't know if anything else will be. It's going to have opening doors. Yeah. Way to add some value and some, interesting characteristics to your car. I think this is one that could have been totally really boring, and it's not. So well done by the designers on that front, and a solid addition. The 1984 Rover SD1 Vitesse. One of my friends somehow, they post a picture every year on the Matchbox Instagram of bubble wrap covering the display cases, and they say new models coming. Somehow one of my friends, Nick, sees through the bubble wrap on the post and knew exactly what this car is, which is insane to me. He just instantly recognized the silhouette, so well done to him. Anyways, this is a very cool choice, a very fun choice. Again, some uniqueness here from Matchbox. Opening hood on this one is going to look great. Another good choice, another great way to bring diversity to the lineup. They're just crushing it this year in terms of that. The EVs from the past couple years, I think, kind of stalled out some really unique models that they might have wanted to make, but just couldn't fit into the lineup because they had to do so many EVs. And we're now seeing all those just fall in truckloads into this year's lineup. From there, 1987 Volkswagen Golf Cabriolet. Some more Euro kind of diversity here. We get a classic road-going car from a classic German manufacturer here. We've gotten a lot of new Golfs. We've gotten like the MK1, and I believe the MK3 was in moving parts a few years ago. The classic Golfs kind of get stale to me, but again, they're keeping it interesting. They're doing a cabriolet version with the top down. Looks unique, looks different, and I can appreciate that because this car has an opportunity to be like, we've gotten this new model basically, every single year. We've gotten so many new Golf models. Well, make it a cabriolet, give it some opening doors. You know what? It's fresh, it's newer, it's interesting. Solid addition. Again, these castings, it could be boring. Matchbox finding a way for them to make it interesting. Another thing I really appreciated about the lineup this year. Oh boy, we have what may be my most anticipated model for 2024 with the Porsche 718 Spyder RS. I'm a huge Porsche fan, and this one is long overdue. Somehow, the current generation 911 has had 3 different versions. We've had a moving parts version, and we got 2 in the main line last year. It was only a matter of time before they did the current 718, which was in desperate need. We got the Cayman about 2016, 2017, so like 8-9 years ago, but it was a little bit off. They desperately needed to do the little brother Porsche sports car here for a while, and we are getting a great one. We are getting it in Spyder form with opening doors. I'm very, very excited for this one. Day one must have. And we're getting the 1994 Ford F-150 SVT Lightning. This is another welcome surprise. It's going to have 2 moving parts, opening rear trailer, opening hood. Love to see that. Hot Wheels just did a Lightning a few years ago, but they did it heavily modified. So what does Matchbox do? You do it modified, we go and do it stock. Basically the rule of thumb for these two brands. Really excited for this one. This is a really cool car that is going to be getting an appropriately, hopefully, really cool release. Still very early in development, as you can see here with the 3D print, but expect it end of 2025, a worthy choice. Anyways, that is going to do it from me here today. There are a few models that were included in these displays that were not included in the sizzle, so I didn't know exactly what they were. I didn't want to be wrong and include names and end up being wrong, and then, people are going, nuts in the comments for whatever reason, getting mad. So I didn't include those. You can find pictures on my Instagram of the full display cases and see what those were. There are also a few models that were not included in the sizzle or the case that will be new models next year, either for licensing reasons or because the car wasn't quite ready to be shown yet, so they were not included. But that is 99% of the new models that you will see next year from Matchbox. My personal takeaways: big year for Euro cars. Euro cars are going to be everywhere in the lineup this year. That's big news for Euro collectors like me. That's absolutely fantastic. BMW, Mercedes, Toyota slash Lexus come away as the big winners, both getting multiple new castings. BMW and Toyota, too, particularly get some very interesting cars that are going to be added to their catalogs. Love to see that. A few more generics in the main line than I would have liked to see, but now with having moving parts as a second lineup that is all totally licensed, it doesn't feel that bad. So really not that big of a deal, not something to be too concerned about on my end. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of must-haves coming out. There's very few misses in the license department for me. I could think of maybe one or two off the top of my head, but 2025 looks incredibly promising. It looks incredibly good. The team at Matchbox is doing a great job as always. But that's all for now. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And enduring this 46 marathon video, I get very excited about this, and I love talking about these new models, and I'm very long-winded at points. So thank you all who stuck it out to this point for sticking with me. But that's all for now. I'll see you later. Peace.